Hi, welcome to episode 2 of a series of lessons titled Favorite Song That I Taught This Week. This week's entry is Al Green's classic, Tired of Being Alone. Shout out to my student Kyle Logsden, who comes in on Tuesdays, brought this song in. Love this song, loved it for many years and played it many times over the years, and away we go. So, really short song. There's really only there's three progressions, but there's a variation on two of them that's just real simple. So I just think of it as three different chord progressions. And one of the coolest things about it is the use of chromaticism. So let me talk about that for a second. Chromaticism, if I can spit it out. Chromaticism, if you don't know what chromaticism is, the term comes from the use of the chromatic scale. Most of you have a chromatic tuner, and what that means is it tells you every pitch in the musical alphabet. All your sharps, all your flats, and all your natural notes. So the chromatic scale is simply just all 12 notes laid out in half steps. And so these chords can spook some, cowboy chord players and just rock power chord type players, because there's some names in here that may not be familiar to your weekend warriors, but they're all pretty simple once you kind of see the concept. So the chords of the intro are just a C, and then a C major 7, then a C7, which is still a major chord, but it's got a flat 7, and then a C6. And so the reason for the changing names there with all the different variations of C is the fact that we're incorporating chromaticism in the chords. Here's the way it works. We're going to start with a simple bar chord of C in an A form. Just technically, I'm not really even barring it because I'm not playing this high E string. So I'm just playing the 3rd fret of the A, 5th, 5th, 5th of D, B, and G. And the chromatic line is just simply this melodic passage inside the chord progression as the chords are changing. So it's a C note, then a B note, then a B flat, and then an A. And so in the intro, that's done by, playing this C chord, like I mentioned. Then we're going to play C major 7. So we've got to get the 4th fret note there. So I'm going to bring my ring finger up to the D string. Now I have a C major 7. Now I'm going to let go of my middle finger, but I've got to be careful to make sure I really bar the 3rd fret so that note comes out. So we hear that pitch. So we want to hear da da da. And the player on the track actually arpeggiates the chord, meaning picks through the chord, so you really hear it. C major 7, C7. Now C6 is going to feel and look different. We're still going to play the C note, but we need our middle finger on the C note of the A string. And then we're just going to bar 2 strings. Careful not to bar 3. We're going to bar the D and G string at the 2nd fret. And just pick through that. If you accidentally go one too far, it's going to sound really funky. Which is not what we want. You'll have a C sharp on that string, and you're holding a C in the bass. So once again, the intro chords are these: C major 7, C major, C major 7, C7, and then C6. And so now it does that one time, and then it enters into the chorus. And the chorus is pretty much the same thing until you get to where the A note would be in the chromatic line, and we'll talk about that when we get there. So same thing, C major, tired of being alone, and then C7. Now here, instead of playing C6, you're just simply going to play an A minor, where there's that note again right there. And then you're going to play A7. Now here's how you want to voice A7 for this particular song. You want to bar the 2nd fret, and 2nd fret of the D strings, D string, G string, and B string, and then that allows you to grab the high note of the G on the E string. So here's how that sounds. I'm so tired. And that's the passage. Cool. Now, what's funny to me is that it's the exact same passage. When I first learned this, it just kind of threw me for a loop that it just was the same exact thing up a whole step. I love the way he switched the key there. So yeah, so instead of C, he goes to the key of D, and it's everything the same, just up a whole step. So D, 5th fret, and all 7th fret. D major 7, D7. Now, then you're going to play B minor, which is not going to be an open chord like A minor was, but it's going to be the same formation. You're going to play B minor, the 2nd fret, and then you're going to play B7, much like I played A7. So what I do is I just flatten out my middle finger here, and I either put my ring or my pinky on that high note of the 5th fret of the E string to get the B7, the flat 7 of the chord. I'll play all of that one more time. Cool. One more chord progression, and we're pretty much there. The next chords are just G, A, G, A, G, A, and then G, and then F over G. So you can play that as, bar chords, E forms, like so. What I tend to do, though, I play a lot of R&B, a lot of jazz and music that, a lot of soul music, I guess, if you want to call it that. And what I find in that style and that genre, in all those genres, is that this shape for an E form, which is really a G chord, oftentimes is not really played like that because players like to ornament, or it brings out the sound of the triad more if you just play less strings than all 6 of these. And so very similar to how Jimi Hendrix likes to play his E forms. If those of you are familiar with any Hendrix songs, if you've ever learned Purple Haze or Castles Made of Sand or anything, Little Wing possibly, you'd find that this is a must fingering for those songs, and that's what it is. It comes from this shape of an E, but what we're doing is we're just simply playing the D string 5th fret, G string 4th fret, B string 3rd fret, just the triad, 1, 3, 5, G, B, D, and we're playing the bass note, the octave of the G down here with our thumb. Now, the challenge there from a mechanics standpoint is you have to mute the A string, and you also have to mute the high E string. So I'm doing that with the excess of my thumb, so my A string's dead, or the tip of my ring finger, but without sacrificing that note. So if you're muting the A string, but you're also not getting a strong note on the D, then yeah, prioritize that note first before you prioritize the muting. So then last but not least, the high E is just muted by the backside of my index finger. And so we're playing G, A, G, A, G, A. Now this is funny. G, funny, not really funny, but G to G, F over G, which is this, it's kind of cool because the triad stays the same, but it goes down a whole step, and the bass note doesn't. So if you've got the flexibility to do this with your hands, and that feels comfortable to you, go for it. I can do it, don't like to do it. What I do personally is I move down a whole step. I kick my ring finger over to the G note, and now I incorporate my pinky on the D string. So that passage once again is. And then you're back, and so it just goes back to the verse, which is C again, C major 7, C7, A minor, A7, and it goes up to the, sorry, I said verse, I meant chorus. Then the verse, which is D, D major 7, D7, B minor, B7, and then B minor, yeah, and then B7, yeah. Then G again, A, G, A, G, A, G, F over G. And that's it. At this point, it goes to one last chord progression, which is really simple. It's just the variation of what we've been doing. And it just loops these next chords until the song is done, which is D, D major 7, D7, B minor, but not B7. It doesn't change from B minor to B7 like it had been. And it just plays that. I'm so tired of being tired. And they rocks out. It just plays that out. And that's it. Tired of Being Alone by Al Green.